Hello. It's IB Nation Sports Talk.
What up, y'all?
It's Vince. I'm Sean.
It's Wednesday.
Spring is here, baby.
Spring is
here. It looked like spring. It was a beautiful day.
It was
here in South Bend today, and it is not so
gorgeous
beautiful right now. It is getting cloudier.
Yeah, it's getting overcast. That storm that everybody was afraid of is starting to roll in here.
It's on the way. It's on the way. But the good news is we had Notre Dame football spring practice this morning. Day one. Didn't get to see a ton, but we did get to see a little bit. This is typically a mailbag day, and Vince came into the show, out of the show, saying, "Well, it's mailbag day, so they better get those questions in."
Whoops.
No. Since it's day one of spring football,
makes sense.
We're bringing some comments from Marcus Freeman about the quarterbacks and all that kind of stuff. So
I'm all caught up. I got the rundown. I'm ready.
It's okay. It's okay. I forgive you because I mean it's like we've only been doing the same thing for 3 years on Wednesdays. So it's like, you thought that was the way it was.
It's all.
There you go.
I am unlike my cubbies. I can hit a curveball. So
a lot of curveballs too. I woke up at around sometime after 5 this morning.
Oh wow!
I don't know if it was just because, I knew had to get up and whatever. I might have slept for like another 5 minutes after that, but I just ended up getting out of bed somewhere a little after 6, and then watched some of that game this morning, Cubs and Dodgers, and it didn't go well for your Cubs.
I got up early yesterday to watch the opener, right? And I normally get up around 6:30, so I set the alarm for 6. Watch the first part of my iPad, kind of laying in bed there, and Cubs had a 1-0 lead through 4 innings. Things were looking pretty decent. But it just I just had that feeling the whole time that, this is going to be like, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I think that's just the general nature of a Cubs fan. I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And of course, in the 5th inning, it dropped hard. And then they couldn't really rebound off of that. I did not watch yesterday. This morning, excuse me. I forgot that it was on. Until it was over, and I checked.
You were so excited about yesterday, you forgot it was on today.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, it's just such a weird time, and with everything going on in real life, time.
Save it. It'll come up in rapid fire.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you were going into a long soliloquy about baseball. Just
I'll
put it on the back burner. It'll come up in rapid fire.
But I got like a week and a half to wait, so it's whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Till actual opening day.
Correct.
Comes up. Tracy says, "Go Dodgers." Sorry, Sean. Have been a fan for years. That's fine. Vince is the Cubs fan.
Oh, and you guys could root for whoever you want. It's all good. In fact, a very dear friend of mine is a huge Dodgers fan, and they had a lot of heartbreak until they decided that they were going to be the best team money could buy.
Yeah, that's
But
you know what? Power to them. Props to them. They're
not breaking any rules.
They're in the second biggest market in the nation, and they've decided to invest. So go for it. The Cubs are in the 3rd biggest market in the nation. They have not gone all in, in terms of investing in the roster. Even the Yankees haven't gone all in.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So again, they're not breaking any rules. They're well within the rules of baseball, and they're buying themselves some championships, and that's okay. I mean, I really don't have a problem with it. I would love if the Cubs would have gone out and got a particularly highly prized third baseman, or gotten another starter or some more bullpen help. But I will say the Shaw kid at third base, I think there's something there. We'll see. It's early.
There's potential.
Made a few nice plays defensively over the last couple of days. So,
how about some football?
Yes, lots of football to talk about today, actually, from what
Notre Dame
football.
We got some brief glimpses of the quarterbacks, pretty much what I thought it would be. What I talked about yesterday. They warmed up outside for 2 periods, threw a little bit to each other, came back inside, threw to the running backs a little bit on some short routes, and then that was period 3, actually. Period 4, which was the final period we got to see. they threw some short and intermediate passes to the receivers and the tight ends. So,
like, do you have thoughts on what you saw, or is it just, it was just warm-ups?
I don't have any deep thoughts because, again, there's only so much to think about.
Sure.
Only so much that we saw. I will say, I think one little thing, again, this is little, and I'm not like this is not a declarative statement by any means, but I thought it was interesting on the wheel routes.
Mm-hmm.
They were all, the running backs were running their wheels to the right. Most of the quarterbacks were throwing, they threw nice, sharp, crisp passes. Again, this is not a declaration by any means. Most of them threw, their pass directly at the running back. I thought it was interesting that Mr. Carr led the running back, threw it out in front of him with a little bit more air on it, and let the running back kind of run underneath it.
A little touch.
A little bit. Yeah. A little more touch on his.
Gotcha.
On those wheel routes. That was the only difference really that I saw there. There were different, sort of levels of, accuracy or inaccuracy on a couple of the, the deeper balls down the left sideline to the receivers. But again, it's day one, so it's not like I'm going to jump out and say, this means that, or
well, they're not even full pads, are they?
No, it was all shells today. So, because again, it's day one. CJ Carr definitely, like everything he does, there's a little bit more twitch to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was something that stood out. Just again, looking at what we did get to see of the quarterbacks today, there's a different kind of twitch that CJ Carr has for sure.
Yeah, ball bounces out of his hand pretty well, and I wasn't there, so full disclosure, I was not there today. But I have seen all of them throw in the past, and it just comes out different. I mean, it just does. And there's a level of Carr and Minchey, ball comes out a certain way, and then there's the other guys, and the ball comes out a different way, and it was see what you did.
I know
what you did.
Breaking news. DK getting snarky there. Have they named a starting quarterback yet? No, as it turns out, they have not,
and they won't. I'm guessing for quite some time.
No,
so.
We do typically, this is Wednesday, which typically is mailbag day. For anyone who came here maybe expecting a mailbag, go ahead, throw in your questions.
Sure, why not?
And maybe we'll see what's there, and we can always address those, get to those. We always appreciate your comments throughout the course of the show, and we've got, like I said, a lot of audio, a lot of comments from the press conference today from Marcus Freeman. So you want to just jump into that, all about the quarterbacks?
Can I predict what these are going to sound like? Because I have not listened, obviously, to any of this. I have not heard any of these comments. My prediction, 2 words. Word salad. That's what I'm predicting.
I think there's a little bit. I think there was a little bit more.
Okay.
I thought that there was. This was the first question about the quarterbacks. What's the quarterback competition going to look like this spring? Like, how are the reps going to be divvied? And all that kind of stuff went into this first question about the quarterback competition. And here is Mr. Marcus Freeman with the response.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a perfect science that I'm able to tell you right now that this is exactly how we're going to do it. But the general, the theme of it is they're all going to get reps with the ones. They're all going to get reps that we split. And talking Kenny, Steve, and CJ. They're going to split reps, and each day could be different. But it's important for us to communicate with them beforehand. And no matter if they like what group they're going with or not, which it shouldn't matter, that we're upfront and honest with them. And we give them feedback after each practice. And we'll name a starter when a starter clearly shows that he's the best quarterback. I don't want to put a timetable on it. I refuse to do that because to me it's going to, if you don't have a decision made by then, it's going to frustrate you. And there's no need to put a timetable on it. Let those guys compete, and when a starter is determined, we're going to announce it. But again, I'm excited. I truly love competition. I think it's going to make all three of those guys better. This is probably the first, it is the first true competition with three guys, that I've been a part of. But I mean, I think it's going to be a fair competition. I know it's going to be a fair competition, and I'm really excited for and looking forward to, seeing how everyone in that room enhances, but also at some point somebody's going to be getting started.
All right, there you go, Vince. What'd you think?
Somebody was murdering their keyboard. That's what I.
Yeah, it was not me.
Oh my goodness! Holy God, they were getting after it. Yeah, I think he said all the right things. Obviously, yes, he did say Kenny's name first, so that clearly means he's going to be the starter. Which I thought was funny, but no, I think he said all the right things. He's not gonna put any kind of parameters around anything. It's going to be wide open. He's going to do it how he wants to do it. It's not like the media gets to see anything anyway. So he can say whatever he wants at this point, and it is what it is. You know what I mean? And so I like the fact that he didn't say we're not going to name a starter this spring. At least he left that open.
No timetable. We're not going to put a timetable.
No timetable. So it could be this spring. It could be in the fall. Could be the night before game one. Whatever. So it is, he has to tread lightly to a degree when you've got a 3-man competition, right? Because you want to do your best to keep everybody happy, but you also want to do right by your team to make sure you got the right guy. So there's going to be some eggshell walking here a little bit. But I think he said all the right things,
Well, and, again, included in there was there are going to be some day. He essentially said there are going to be some days where this guy is going to get more, one guy is going to get more reps than the other. And these guys might not always like the group that they're in, but they're just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because not every day is going to be your day.
Right.
Because it's a 3-man competition. This is kind of something that we talked about before. Like, to do a 3-man competition, the reps can't always be the same.
They can't be.
Day.
It's not possible.
They just can't. You can't give all 3 guys because then you're cheating everybody.
Correct.
If you're trying to divvy up the reps up, amongst 3 different guys exactly the same every day. So
yep.
I like that he said it. It's like, suck it up. This is a competition. Compete with the reps that you're given and deal with it.
Yep. Yeah.
Well,
and honestly, part of the competition is going to be how do you deal with being with the third team and the second team and, things like that. What does that look like? Are you going to elevate the guys around you? What is that? This is a deep team. There's players strewn throughout the depth chart, right? So what does that look like? Are you the same guy no matter whether you're with the first team, the second team, or the third team? I think that goes a long way. I think that's part of it. It's not the only thing, but it's definitely part of it.
No, for sure. DK says he likes the fact that he added the word true versus the last few years. Clarified that it is a true competition.
Well,
I guess
he can say whatever he wants. How about that?
Ooh, Vince is going to get snarky right away.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, so this was interesting to me because he was asked to essentially, what are the strengths of each of the 3 quarterbacks? So listen to this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna, they all got great arms. They all can throw the ball. One's a senior that has been here that has experience. One's been here for going into a second year, and one's going into his third year, right? And so, is that a strength or a weakness? I don't know. That's to be determined, right? I think all 3 have been really instant plays with their legs. They all 3 make really great decisions. So there's nothing I'm going to say right now to say, hey, they're separated. Like, those 3 are competing, and I look forward to the competition. And at the end of the day, when one clearly shows that he's the best person to lead our offense, then he'll be named a starter.
Pretty obvious, Vince. He didn't want to start off spring practice by comparing one to the other.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that either because he's going to get himself in trouble. and it makes perfect sense, right? I could have predicted to you what he was going to say about Steve Angeli, though, and that's exactly what he said. Oh, he's a senior. He's got a lot of experience. He's been around the program for a long time. Like, those are the pros.
I mean, those are the
pros.
That's the list of his strengths,
right?
Like,
and
as compared to the others,
as Sly Fox points out down there in the chat, he mentioned Kenny third this time, so he's keeping you guys on your toes, which I noticed right away, and I thought that was hilarious. But it's also funny to me that he said they can all throw the ball. Well, that's good because they're all on scholarship at Notre Dame.
You would hope that they can all throw the ball at this point, right? Regardless of how many years they've been here.
It's like, okay. And then he just said they can all make good decisions. They can all move the ball with their legs. They can all throw the ball. Like, there was no, this guy does this guy does that. I mean, he's not going to do that because he's going to slip up and give away kind of what the depth chart looks like right now.
Yeah, but again, like even on one of the drills, I can't remember, I think it was when they were throwing to the running backs, like they started at what you would presume would be like the back of the depth chart with walk-on and
right
Hebert, and then Angeli actually went last. You know what I mean? So like even in what they were doing, whether intentionally or not, like the order was mixed. They weren't always going with the same order, like
interesting, because they always went with the same order when there's a starter, second string, third string.
Right. When it was Riley Leonard was typically always first, obviously as long as he was healthy and out there. So I think that, again, we're only going to get 2 other opportunities with the exception of the blue gold game, 2 other opportunities the rest of the spring. 1 week from today, we'll get another stretching 4 period, not 5 period, 4 period. And then we'll get a full practice the week before the blue gold game. And that's going to be it.
That is all she wrote. So, hey, it is what it is. That's spring ball for you. It's going to be over before it starts, it feels like. But hey, here we are. Yeah. I mean, the spring game's on the 12th. That's so close to now, it feels like. I'm just so used to spring ball being belabored over like an 8-week period or something like that. You know what I mean? And it's going to be done and over with in 3 weeks. Like boom, bing, bam, done.
I know. Because
it's nuts.
Like I was telling Jesse yesterday, I get why they obviously pushed back the start of spring because you went so deep. 4 postseason games. No one's ever, Notre Dame and Ohio State are the only 2 teams to ever have 4 postseason games. So the season obviously only ended as of tomorrow. It'll be exactly 2 months, but we're used to by now, there've been at least 1 or 2 practices.
Yes. At least. Yeah.
By now, but now this is day 1. And like you said, 3 weeks from now, it's all going to be over with for us anyway.
Yeah.
Now, based on the schedule that we've been given, there are going to be 5 other practices beyond what's on the schedule that we have. When exactly those take place, we don't know as of right now. So,
I would not be surprised if they were after the spring game. Just based on the calendar and just based on how condensed spring is in the first place. The fact that there's going to be a kind of a wrap-up press conference well after the spring game leads me to believe that that's when they're going to have the practices. That's just me extrapolating information. We're not supposed to be specific about the schedule and all that kind of stuff that gets released. Not that they gave us all that much information to begin with, but like, it's odd to me that he would have like a wrap-up press conference
a week after,
like after the
blue gold game.
The blue gold game. Like, well after. You know what I mean?
There are extra days, obviously, in there if they're going to have these extra 5 practices that are not on the schedule.
Right. Because a lot of times his wrap-up press conference is like the post-game of the blue gold game. Like, he doesn't come back after the blue gold game and have another press conference. Like, that doesn't really happen. So just the way that it's kind of finagled and scheduled, it just makes it feel like those practices are probably going to come afterwards, but you never know.
Yeah. Joe's asking if Rizak was with the quarterbacks. He was. Rizak was out there today.
And he wants to know if Rizak's going to transfer. Why would he transfer? He came here as a walk-on, knowing full well what his role was going to be. And here he is. Like, he wants to get a degree from Notre Dame and he wanted to walk on the football team. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, there is a 105-man roster, and that's something we can touch on a little bit more, I think, on tomorrow's show, because he was asked that, I think, at the end of the press conference today about, sort of like if the spring is essentially, tryouts for some of these guys at the bottom of it, since there is a limit. And and obviously you have more freshmen who will be coming in this summer that will, and other transfers as well, who either are injured right now or who aren't with the team yet. But Rizak was out there. They were all out there today. And, what exactly, I mean, I tend to agree with what you're saying there in the chat, Vince. He's not going anywhere, but I mean,
I would say
we don't know exactly.
Yeah.
Like you would think, again, like based on how this competition goes between the top three guys in the pecking order, Angeli, Carr, and Minchey, Carr, Angeli, Carr, Minchey, and like however you want to stack the order of who comes out of your mouth first, right? Like depending on how that goes, we don't know if they're all three going to stick around. You would anticipate that probably someone wouldn't. And so in that case, a guy like Rizak, as we've talked about before, becomes, more important just in terms of the depth that he gives you, an extra arm in the room and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, again, my opinion, it's not like he and I have had a conversation about it, right? I mean, he came to Notre Dame as a preferred walk-on. He had offers to go other places. He decided to come to Notre Dame to get his degree and be a part of the program without any kind of a promise that he's ever going to play, right?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
And that's not going to change. So I do think he would be part of the 105 when it gets slimmed down to that. There's certain guys I think you can probably say are going to be part of, like Fisher. He's going to be part of the 105. I mean, he was starting on some special teams, things like that. Like
he was out there today. He actually looked a little trimmer today.
Okay.
Than what we saw last year. Not that he but like,
yeah. No, I got
a high school quarterback who beefed up to be
right.
fullback. He looks a little sleeker, I think, based on what I saw today.
I could see them cutting down the specialist room. That would be the first place I would go to get the numbers down. There's some walk-on wide receivers that aren't playing special team. Like, so there's going to be some places where you can trim the fat. I don't see it being with him. And honestly, part of the puzzle to that is that his twin brother is on the team. Like,
right.
That's kind of part of it. You know what I mean? Why would you want to piss off the family?
But like you said,
him?
He came here. I don't think he came here with any grand illusions, like he was going to end up being the quarterback.
Right.
So like
completely agree.
So like he's
an easy keep though too, as part of the 105. Like if they're only going to give out 85 scholarships and so you're going to have 20 walk-ons or whatever the case may be, like easily one of the 20, you know what I mean? Like I could very much see that be the case. So I don't think he's going to be a casualty of the 105.
Someone else not with the quarterbacks though today, Tyler Buckner. He was not over there with the quarterbacks, even though by the end of last season, he was doing some scout team stuff, stuff that we weren't able to see and, those kind of things.
Is he still rocking 2.6?
Yes.
Okay.
We're in 26.
Got you.
Yes.
Good to know.
Yeah. All right. So some more comments from Marcus Freeman about the quarterbacks. Some consistency in the room now. After 3 offensive coordinators in 3 different years, Mike Denbrock is now a repeat offensive coordinator for the Fighting Irish going into season 2. So Marcus Freeman talked about having that consistency with Denbrock as it relates to the quarterback competition, as well as another Irish assistant coach who gives them some consistency in that room.
I think this is, Coach Gadouli's 3rd year too, right? And so that camaraderie, that consistency is important. I think it's going to help everybody enhance faster. Right, where we really preach the details of our offense. How do we continue to enhance the details of our offense? Well, you're not enhancing the details if you ain't got a great foundation. Well, we do have a great foundation, so now they're able to enhance the details of our offense. So it's exciting. It's definitely an added benefit knowing that you have consistency in your coordinator, but you also have consistency in your quarterback's coach.
So there you go. Some consistency in the coordinator, some consistency in the quarterback's coach. By the way, we're going to get to talk to Gaduli, as well as the quarterbacks on Friday. So I'll be looking forward to that. But I don't know, Vince, like how important do you think that is, having that consistency, stability in the room, especially now that you're not going to the portal, you're going homegrown guys, and all of these guys have played in Denbrock's system for a year. And obviously Gaduli has, been here, going back since the start of Steve Angeli's career as well, as Marcus Freeman made sure to mention.
I think that consistency is important. I think it's also important that there's not a brand new offensive coordinator walking into the room with these three guys who are competing at the quarterback position. He knows, like, what they do in the spring is important. What they do in the fall is important. But this has been a year-long job interview as far as I'm concerned. If I'm Mike Denbrock, I've been watching these three guys do their thing for a year now, right? And so you can't erase the last year's worth of information in your brain if you're Mike Denbrock and Gino Gaduli and Marcus Freeman, for that matter. That's all in there. That's all part of this decision-making process. It's not these 3.5 weeks, in with blinders on.
It's not just what happens now. There's a
a
greater depth of analysis and that they have.
So having Mike Denbrock have that analysis in his head, I think is very, very important. He's not coming in cold. He's not just watching film. He's not taking guys' word for it. He has that same information in his own brain. And I think that's important. I think that's really, really important.
I do as well, because again, it's like I asked that specific question, and I was, asked about Denbrock, obviously, because even though the systems from Reese and into Parker and now Denbrock, they're not dramatically different by any means, but they are different enough. And because that Mike Denbrock is the guy in charge of the offense, and knowing, who the quarterback is obviously very important to whoever the offensive coordinator is. So having that base of knowledge and the experience that those guys have, and the coordinator having that base of knowledge, I just think that is very important. Like, he's got a full year of all three of these guys under his belt now, going into year 2. Gaduli is the guy who is most important for the development of those guys. But to me, it is still the guy who is calling the shots at the top, and the comfort that he has with whoever ends up being the quarterback. That is very important to me. And as you said, just the depth of knowledge that he has of those three guys, I think, goes a long way as well, because it's not just what happens in this 3-week span. Sly Fox, I don't know if he's being, funny or what, but he says Gino's on the hot seat. Like, do you see, like, I don't see hot seat.
I don't see it.
I don't either.
I just want to throw this out there. Salty, this is not a mailbag show. So
well, we told them that they could throw in questions.
I know,
right?
But here they come. I don't want you to do too much work today. That's all I'm saying. I don't want you to do too much work.
Don't throw it yet. Don't feel like you've got to fill that bag up.
Yeah.
Today.
Just relax. There'll be time.
Mail bombing is commencing, though.
Oh, okay. Well, I tried.
Here it comes.
He's excited.
I'm only starring up certain ones that I'm seeing here, though.
Well, it's going to take you a minute and a half, so.
Man, I swear. We'll just call it the salty bag today.
I want to address the walk-on thing. So DK is very upset that they're trimming the rosters and all that stuff. He's not getting kicked out. None of these guys are getting kicked out of school. They're students first. They just won't be on the football team. There's a big difference between, they're cutting walk-ons. Walk-ons are students first. They have to get admitted to the university as students, and then they get to play football at the same time.
They're choosing to try out for the football team, and they have to make the team at that point. But like you said, they are students first. Just like any other sport, whether it's basketball or baseball or soccer or whatever, any of them that have walk-on tryouts, like you said, they have to be admitted to Notre Dame first and become students at Notre Dame first. Then they go through the walk-on process. You're absolutely right. They're not getting kicked out of school. They can still be Notre Dame students because they're paying their own way to begin.
Correct. They're paying the exorbitant amount of money that it costs to go to Notre Dame in the first place. So, and if they want to play football, they will have every opportunity to play football at a lower level. Like you're telling me that a 1AA or whatever wouldn't want one of these guys that might be looking for a job or for a home or a D2 or whatever. There will be opportunities for those guys if they want them. Or maybe they just want to hang up their cleats and be a student. Or maybe they want to be a student manager. They just don't wear the equipment. Same stuff. So there's going to be all kinds of opportunities for these guys.
But the other side of it is like guys who would have been walk-ons, because remember, there was an 85-man scholarship limit. So now if it goes to 105, that's plus 20 that you're gaining. And it's going to be up to Notre Dame how much scholarship money they decide to give. So there are 20 players who may have been walk-ons
are going to benefit now,
who are going to get at least some kind of scholarship money. Like if you stay on the roster going into next season, you're going to get at least some scholarship money for the guys who went, like Rezak, for example. If he's still on the team next fall, he's getting some money that he wasn't getting this year.
Well, and I can tell you right now that a lot of those walk-ons were getting money anyway from NIL. So
sure,
they were
smaller than like a star type guy, but they were getting some.
There's multiple walk-ons that were paying $0 to go to Notre Dame because of football. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's not everybody. That's not everybody.
More information on that. It's not
I talked to a walk-on's dad, and he was
a guarded
me,
secret then.
They're all very well, they probably don't want they probably don't want their names out there. But
why not? They're going to Notre Dame. They're on the roster.
Well, I don't want to, let's put it this way. I don't want to burn my source. How about that? I don't want to make him mad. But
well, I expect you to start bringing more juicy details to this show then if you have these sources.
This father told me that there's
it's a father. Okay.
Yeah, I said a parent of a player.
Yeah, but father narrows it down.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
You're giving away at least partial sources right now. So.
Anyway, the guys that are getting a lot of money,
a mother that
are the guys that are going to be on the 105. That's the point that I was going to make.
Okay, all right.
So
I got you.
Yeah, killing me. Killing me.
You would not make a good spy, D'Addario.
No, I wouldn't at all. I have way too big of a mouth. There's no. I know it. I know. I can't. I just can't help it. I see. I have information. I see you, and I'm like, I got to tell you.
You're like my wife, man. She just she's got to find out all these details and and then
I love the juice.
The
juice.
That's right. One of the first things that my wife still remembers. I don't even remember how it came up. It was from our early dating days. She blabbed about something, and I gave her the loose lips sink ships. And she still reminds me that I told her that way back when.
I've heard that one many times. This.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right. Snitches get stitches.
There you go.
All these different ones.
There you go. Yeah. Be judicial. Or judicious.
Yeah. I'm trying.
I guess you didn't hear the press conference today. So Chuck Freeby was throwing out the big words at Marcus Freeman. I think it was truncated. Nope. Freebie asked him about the truncated schedule, and Freeman was like, "What? Truncate?
See, it's that Ohio State education.
I know.
Get you every time.
I know.
Come on, truncated is not a big word.
Giving us state school guys a bad name.
Jeez, I went to 3 different schools, so I don't know what that means.
That's true. I guess you went private and state.
I went everywhere. I'm all over the place. I'm an enigma.
All right, so here's more from Freeman on how the differing skill sets of the quarterbacks impact potentially the running of the offense.
I would think they all have similar skill sets, right? I don't think Kenny might argue with me that he's as good as a runner as Riley, but I don't know, I think they all have some skill sets with the ability to throw it, the ability if they need to keep the ball in their hands and extend the play or have an option to run the ball, they can. And so I think just as we look at it from the big picture, right, is that okay, we know what Riley's strengths were, we know what Sam Hartman's strengths were. Now we have an idea of what the collective group in that room, the strengths are. And so how do we tailor what we do offensively to fit the quarterback, right? And what are we going to ask that guy to do? You've heard me say it many times, right? Great coaches call or ask their players to do what they do well, right? It's not a play call that you created. It's calling what your guys do well. And that's the objective of the spring, is how can we tailor what we do offensively and call things that we believe our quarterback can perform well.
Yeah, biggest thing I got out of that was that those last couple of sentences there. You cater to the strengths of your players, right? Like that's regardless of who ends up being the quarterback.
Yeah.
One of them is they're all going. They all may be somewhat similar in his eyes, but at the end of the day, whatever differences they have, whatever the strength of the individual who ends up being the quarterback, you're going to play to the strengths of that guy as much as possible.
And that's
just like they did with
good
Riley
coaching.
Leonard.
Yeah, that's good coaching, right? I mean, he definitely didn't answer the question. He definitely brought it around to, whoever the quarterback is, we're going to call the offense in that manner. And that makes perfect sense because the quarterbacks do have different skill sets, all three of them. So
even though he doesn't want to come out and say it.
Yes, all three
Father
of them.
David says he could barely say similar skill sets. He knows there's a clear difference, is what Father
clear
David
difference. Clear. It's all right, buddy.
So I'm not sure, like Sly Fox and TD4ND are both saying Kenny. Like just the fact that he said Kenny's name first, is that what they're saying?
Yep, and the fact that he talked about Kenny anecdotally only. That Kenny says he's faster than Riley.
Oh, so now we're going to parse every little comment and try to dissect who we think the guy is going to be.
It's going to be a fun game that we're going to play.
Man.
All the way to
I didn't even realize it was going to go this far this quick, man.
Just
spray some accelerant on that stuff and just light the fire.
I haven't seen what people are saying out there in social media land based on today's practice, but I would be very curious to see what people's thoughts are based on 4 periods and a press conference.
They're saying, rise up, gather round, burn this place to the ground, Vince. That's what they're saying.
And who's saying that?
Burn it up. Let's go for broke. Watch the night go up in smoke. Come on, somebody in the chat, tell me what the next word is.
Ooh.
Def Leppard, Pyromania. Sorry.
Well done.
All right, it's going to be a crazy spring, man. No, I'm not rapping, Father David. That was Def Leppard. I was just spoken word.
Spoken word.
That's right.
Justin, stirring the pot. Love it. I love it. I'm all
I had to make
stirring.
sure that was the crying laughing emoji before I said anything.
Yes. He's stirring the pot, and I'm all for it. I'm all for stirring the pot, man. I feel like I know how it's gonna go just based on what I think it should be. So I'm just gonna sit on that but best man wins. Whoever the best man wins, then it's great because they beat out 2 quality quarterbacks.
I think I kind of like that it's a 3-man competition, though, because, like if we're going to play this game where we're going to parse every sentence, that Freeman says, at least there are 3 guys in there. So,
we should keep like a tote board in the back.
Yeah, like a third, it's always going to be 1/3 of the people are hearing what they like and 2/3 hear what they don't like. And,
it's so true.
It's just going to be crazy.
It is great.
But again, we're not going to have too much of it because the spring is going to go by so
fast.
Quickly.
And then just a summer's worth of speculation. Can't wait.
I know.
I'm trying to decide what I would rather have from a fan standpoint, from a content creating standpoint. Do I want Marcus Freeman to name a starter in the spring, or do I not want him to?
No, I don't think you can.
Okay.
From a content standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at least once a month, if not every couple weeks, we can bring up the quarterback.
We can have a quarterback
and
show.
Just roll with it, right?
Right.
Just light the match.
Just light the match.
That's it, baby.
Look, TD for ND. Just stirring the pot, baby. I love it.
I know. All the rumors are starting right here. I haven't seen like too many, other, like Jesse saw some video, and Jesse's comment after seeing the video of the three of them was, let me see. Let me bring it up right here so I don't.
You can be careful here. Jesse's going to put himself on one side or the other. Here it comes.
18 is super long with everything.
Always has been. That's why he gets sacked a lot.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons.
Like both with the arm, the footwork. It's just not quite as twitchy as the other guys.
Yep. Yeah. It's good. I mean, that is an analyst's look at watching them throw. And he's accurate on that.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yep.
Yeah. Now, I should say they were all, using the word that you just used, they were all accurate with most of their throws today, but it looked different.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Each guy looked a little different, but like the CJ Carr does have a heck of a quick release and accuracy.
Yeah,
we'll say that.
If he can parlay that into decision making and making the correct decisions, game over.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Salty, just keep it above the waistline, okay? Come on, sunshine.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Sunshine. All right, so Salty has bombed us with his questions. So we'll try to get through some of these if we want to do a little mailbag sesh here.
Little mini.
Yeah. I'll start with Sly Fox though. I did not notice any recruits today. And it was like my attention was not on that because knowing that we were only going to get 4 periods, my eyes were a little bit of everywhere. Like I did see Gerby Lambert line up at a tackle once, and Charles Jagasol lined up at a guard. Now, we didn't see the entire offensive line line up together. There was a lot of, they started off with like individual blocking drills, and then they would do like this, 3/5 of the line, one side of the line, and then this 3/5 of the other side of the line, that kind of stuff. So that's like the extent of what we got to see. But I did not notice any recruits out there.
Because usually when they're there, they have their families, they're up top, they're in like the couches and the chairs, and we're told to stay very far away from them.
Right. Okay. Salty wants to know, how would you compare Quentin Nelson to Billy Jack Schrouth in terms of play and dominance?
That's tough. I mean, you're arguably comparing the best guard in Notre Dame history to the current guard at Notre Dame. Look, they're both very talented. Quentin Nelson just had a little something extra to him as far as just a nasty streak that I'm not sure Billy has fully developed yet. I'm not saying he doesn't have it. I'm saying it's not fully developed yet. So let's see what a full year of a healthy Billy Schrouth looks like, and then maybe we can start comparing. But I don't know that that's fair to Billy, if I'm being honest with you right now.
Yeah, I mean, Nelson was obviously just big and flat out dominant and nasty and just, did so many things and so many, like destructive things in so many ways.
Just
Schrouth has the potential to get there. He's just not there yet. Like if he were close to that, we would have seen him more consistently on the line to begin with than what we entered, like we just would have.
Mm-hmm.
Salty wants to know who has the higher ceiling, KK Smith or Micah Gilbert. I will say this. I noticed today the way they were, like I was talking about how the quarterbacks were going through reps. And again, like how much you want to read into this, but like they were going, like when the wide receivers would go through their drills, they started with Jaden Greathouse. Jordan Faison was the second to rep. KK Smith was the third. Now this was doing one specific, and they kind of went like that. It was kind of like it was through the pecking order because then the walk-up, the walk-ons were bringing up the rear. Now, Gilbert was out there at the start of practice, but I did not see him like taking part in these receiver drills that we were watching. I think it was probably maybe period 2 when I was seeing it. So I didn't see Gilbert in that line. So, just not saying anything happened, didn't get a chance because there were like so many things to ask about today that didn't get a chance to ask. I still think in terms of ceiling, I would go Gilbert though for right now, because remember KK Smith is going into year 3. And I know year 1 was derailed by injury, but we didn't really see him really emerge to any extent last year. So I still think Gilbert has a higher ceiling.
That's a great analysis. I'm with you. I think Gilbert's got the higher ceiling as well. I love what I saw from him last spring. Obviously, he was just kind of behind a bunch of guys during the fall. He's got a great opportunity this spring to reemerge and then potentially be part of the rotation this coming fall. I think there was just too many guys for him to jump this past fall, and I think he's got an opportunity to do it this fall. And a great opportunity this spring to make a splash because some guys are out and some guys, some guys aren't here yet, all of those different things. So I just I haven't seen enough of KK Smith, to be perfectly honest with you.
Right.
I've seen a lot more of Micah Gilbert, and I like what I've seen. So I'm going to go with Micah Gilbert on this one until I see otherwise.
And he also wants to know which wide receiver, other than Malachi Fields and the great one, has the highest potential to have a breakout season.
It's a great question when you take away the top 2 wide receivers on the
right?
Team. Look, Jordan Faison has an opportunity because he hopefully will be healthy for the entire season. His injury definitely hurt him. But, having Greathouse, Faison, Fields all on the field at the same time, something's got to give. And I feel like Faison could make a real play at something special in the slot. So I'll go with Faison for this one because it's the first name that came to my head.
Yeah, I mean, if we're considering, if we're saying that Jaden Greathouse has the potential to have a breakout season, so we're saying that he hasn't already broken out, then I've got to include Jordan Faison in that group as well. So I would put, I think those 3 guys are going to be the 3 main wide receivers for Notre Dame this season: Fields, Greathouse, Faison. Those are my top 3.
Yep, me too.
I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that Jordan Faison, it seemed like just yesterday, he was a freshman who was turning heads during fall training camp, and now he's getting ready for his junior season.
I know, right?
Insane.
Yeah, it is. And I thought I read that he actually took part in practice today for football.
He did,
which I thought was interesting.
It's coming up in rapid fire, Vince. I know you haven't had a chance to read the rundown, but you'll hear some from Marcus Freeman talking about that actually today.
Okay.
What role do you see for Logan Saldana? Speaking of wide receivers, a lot of receiver questions in this.
I see his role as water boy dressed in a uniform. I'm joking, obviously. Maybe special teams. I don't know that I haven't seen him in person, so I'm not ready to declare that he's going to be part of the rotation. So I will say that he's going to be outside the starting rotation, but a guy that's going to take his first year to learn.
Yeah, middle of the depth chart as of right now, start of spring, an opportunity, like this, just one of the many guys who will have opportunities this spring to try to kind of make a name for himself and show himself. So it's just way too early to make any kind of prediction other than what you said. Special teams contributor as of right now, with a lot of room, to prove himself this spring.
Yep.
Gary, yes, Devin Houston is moving to the offensive line. Another rapid fire topic, so we'll kind of save that for just a few minutes here. We've got all kinds of juice that we're teasing.
You're not kidding.
In rapid fire. Salty wants to know how we would compare Mike McGlinchey to Charles Jagasaw. Again,
I wouldn't.
He's comparing two he wants us to compare current guys who we haven't seen very much of so far to two guys who are top 10 NFL draft picks. So
Mike McGlinchey started for like
right now.
2 or 3 years at Notre Dame. Charles Jagasaw has played 2 games for Notre Dame. I'm not ready to start making those comparisons. And you said that he was working out at guard today. Mike McGlinchey's not a guard. He's a tackle.
Some. Some.
Well, he can obviously play both. We've seen both, right?
Right.
But
I mean, it's what I figured. Like you would see him, because I should also add this caveat, because I talked about Gerby Lambert playing a little bit of, I think it was right tackle that he was playing. Emil Wagner, while we were watching, he was in uniform but standing with no helmet, and because he's one of the guys on a pitch count this spring. It was mostly Emil Wagner standing and watching the rest of the guys do drills. So again, like they were moving some different guys around to some different spots, and again, it wasn't a full offensive line; it was just parts of the offensive line. So, but it's what I fully expected, is we would see Jagasaw playing both guard and tackle.
Which is smart. He should get reps at both. No question.
Right. Exactly. TD says Salty is my favorite. He's the only one who's putting questions in the mailbag. I don't have any choice. Like,
I think we've answered everybody else's questions that come through.
Yeah. Like, I haven't seen a bunch of other questions.
I mean, it's not a mailbag. So people didn't come prepared, I suppose, for questions, and that's fine.
Yeah. I tell you what, Vince.
The time.
I'm just flat out ready. And I wonder, are you ready for rapid fire?
Let's go. Rapid fire on a Wednesday.
Yeah, baby.
I'm fired up.
Yeah, baby.
Let's go.
So we heard from Marcus Freeman in the main part of the show, talking a lot about quarterbacks. We've got some other comments from him on a couple of different topics here, including just adjusting the spring schedule, as well as whether or not they considered, maybe even canceling the spring game like some of these other schools have done.
Move spring back. I think when I first put our spring practice calendar, it was last year sometime, right, when we decided when the spring game was going to be. So I decided after the season we had to move spring practice, start a spring practice back about 2 weeks. And the reality is I did not want to cheat the strength and conditioning phase of the development phase of our team. I think it's really important. And there was a integration of different guys based on the amount of plays they played last year in terms of when they started that strength and conditioning phase. And so that's why I decided to push it back 2 weeks to get started, and we will have a spring game. It will be a version of a spring game. Again, it's important to me is to use that as an opportunity, one, to let our players, yes, perform in front of our fans, but two, it's a chance to, really integrate our community and our fans with this football program. I think that's so important to me, is to give the opportunity to fans that maybe typically don't get the opportunity to come to a Notre Dame game, or if they do, to give them another opportunity to come and engage with our players. I don't want to take away from that. There's a lot of pros and cons for each decision, but that went into my decision of keeping our spring game, was that I want to use this opportunity for our team and our football program to make sure that we are really interacting with our fans.
Vince, do you think when Notre Dame has the blue gold game on April 12th, they should troll Southern Cal and Ohio State, like with the fact that they're actually having a spring game, unlike those two particular schools?
I have been very clear on this show. I am all for trolling in reverse, getting back at it. I am all for it. And so, yes, I don't know what that would look like, but I'm here for it. I'm 100% here for it. Yes. Yes.
I think so as well. Social media, the social media needs to put their thinking caps on and be ready.
100%
for that.
It's I will say I was
I like this. Maybe they should roll in. Maybe they should roll in with the Trojan horse through the tunnel.
That would be pretty funny, actually.
Paint a Buckeye on top, maybe.
I was listening to Tim O'Malley the other day on his show, and he talked about, they were talking about the trolling and all that. He's like, what? And that's why I want to give credit where it's due. Okay. He said the next time Notre Dame gets a DB recruit to commit, Notre Dame needs to roll out all the pick sixes that they had against USC in the last 2 seasons, because Notre Dame has one less touchdowns by their defense than USC has with their wide receivers over the last couple of games. So they need to roll out those highlights when Notre Dame gets a DB recruit, whenever that happens. And I'm all for that. Like, let's go. You
obviously
rolled out the
been
grainy
listening.
film.
Now, props to O'Malley, because I didn't
Yeah.
hear him say
Okay.
that, and I'm sure he didn't hear me either. But I said something similar to that, I believe.
Okay.
It must have been when Jesse was on.
Well, then I will
last
give you
week.
props too.
The fact that like between Xavier Watts and the
Yes.
almost Watts alone with the interceptions that Notre Dame has had in the last 2 games
Correct.
against USC.
Yes. That needs to happen. I would be okay with that. Now, Notre Dame will take the high road because that's what generally Notre Dame does.
Yeah.
I'm here for the petty.
I did find it interesting, though, that he said the exact wording, like a version of the spring game. So, like,
that means it's going to be very controlled, is what that means. It might.
did
That's
they just
what I
put
think.
flags on them? Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that kind of where we're going?
But he did say what I also believe is that the spring game is an opportunity to interact with the fans.
Right.
And
that's exactly
thank you.
what it is.
Like, thank you for saying that, because that is exactly what it is. I don't
And
care.
they're
if it's a
also
real
going to
game.
televise it, by the way. And like just all these, starting with Matt Rule, if you're really that paranoid that you think your roster is going to get plucked, like these guys across the board, regardless of what school you're at, but especially if you're at a Power 4 school now, which we all include Notre Dame in that, obviously, even though they're not in a conference, but like all these guys have been scouted at a high level. There was video on all of these guys from their high school days. What are you really going to find out in a spring game?
Nothing
that you didn't already know about them through their recruiting process. Like your guy is going to get plucked from you because you go out and have a scrimmage at the end of the spring. Come on.
It's nonsense is what that is, in my opinion. That's a nonsense excuse, because you feed them the truth serum and you ask them, do you really think that other schools are watching your spring game to try to poach your players? And they'd be like, no, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's no way that's the real reason. There's no chance. None.
Yeah. John says spring game is for the fans and the parents. Again, like there are plenty of people who can't afford to go to a real game because the tickets are going up every year, especially if you're going to go to. And like you could never, I don't know if your daughters are even interested, but you could never take your whole family because of what it would cost to go to a real game. But like to the Bull Gold game, it's fairly affordable.
Yes, 100%. So yeah, if I was just a regular fan and didn't have credentials and all that kind of stuff, this would be the game I would take my family to, because there's no chance I could take my family unless tickets were gifted to me. There's no way I could take my whole family to a Notre Dame football game. None. Yeah. Zero chance. So that's what this game is for.
Absolutely. By the way, I should mention, I texted him this morning and I told him happy birthday on the show yesterday, but it is Jesse's birthday. So happy birthday.
That's right. The big
to him.
2-9.
2-9.
Outing him on that one.
Last year of his 30s.
Yep.
I texted him this morning because maybe this is why I was awake, because I was 29 years ago today. It was a little after, I worked morning news and sports at a small radio station in Kansas. I rolled in for my morning shift to anchor the news and sports on KOFO in Ottawa, Kansas. And sometime between 5 and 5:30, my boss is sitting in the other room. He was like the morning DJ, but he owned the station, all that kind of stuff. And he's like, your wife is on the phone. And she went into labor.
Yeah, buddy.
And so I had to book it out of there. And we got to we were in Ottawa, which is about 20 miles south of Lawrence. We drove up to Lawrence, and 12 plus hours later in labor, in he came.
There we go.
It was the official, I think it was either a Wednesday or a Thursday. I can't remember if it was the day before, the NCAA tournament started or the day of, but it was the official kickoff. March Madness, March 19th, 1996. Are you looking it up for me? You're on mute right now, by the way.
I had no idea what you said because my son's AirPods just connected to my computer.
I
heard everything that you just said, but but now we're good. I don't know how that happened, but all of a sudden I was like, what? is happening? But yes, so I will always remember how old Jesse is because in just that weird whatever, you have been married 11 years younger than me.
That's true.
And our firstborns are almost to the day 11 years apart from each other.
Really?
Yes. Because Dylan's birthday was on
So
Saturday.
he's 11 years
He just turned 18.
We're basically on the same path in terms of when we got married, when we had our first, in terms of years and all that.
We were married for almost the exact same amount
I
of
was
days.
actually thinking about that this morning as well. How odd that is. That we both ended up, we share the same wedding anniversary, 11 years, exactly 11 years apart, and that our sons were born just a few years.
4 days apart.
4 days apart, 11 years apart.
Yes. Yep. So I'll always remember your anniversary, how many years you've been married and how old Jesse is.
We have a room, Salty. It's called YouTube, and you're just here to share it. You're voyeurs in our room.
That's right.
You are. Maybe we should put up blinds on the room. Okay, so Andre is asking about other teams scrimmaging, and that was actually leading into the next question on this rapid fire list, because Colorado football coach Deion Sanders has an idea for spring football. Rather than the typical intra-squad spring game, Sanders wants to do what NFL teams do and practice against another college team for a couple of days, and then you play that team in an actual exhibition at the end of spring. Do you buy or sell that idea, Vince?
I actually really buy that. I think that makes a lot of sense. As a high school coach, I really liked competing against other high school teams throughout the summer because it's just competition. Like I don't even care what you're doing, a 7-on-7, an 11-on-11, drills together. Doesn't matter. You're finally hitting somebody that's not wearing the same helmet as you. I think it fosters competition. I dig it. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't necessarily know about televising the game. Okay, maybe, whatever. That's fine. But the practices, I'm all on board with. I think that's a fantastic idea.
The only issue I have with it is look at Notre Dame as an example this spring, and you can throw Ohio State into this boat as well. But let's look at Notre Dame as the prime example. They did play 4 extra real games into late January.
True.
So, how excited is Marcus Freeman going to be about wanting his team to go full live against another team,
right.
in spring, right? I think from a TV standpoint, TV would eat this up if they had the opportunity to throw on, an actual scrimmage between, Colorado and Notre Dame, or Notre Dame and Michigan, Michigan, whoever it happens to be. They would eat up the opportunity, especially if you got a couple high-profile teams to actually show something at this time of year.
Yeah,
you got 2 teams going head-to-head.
Can you imagine? So, the Notre Dame has been on Peacock the last few years for their blue gold game, and they've got Marcus Freeman mic'd up, and he's kind of behind. He's joking with the comment. Can you imagine Marcus Freeman and Deion Sanders both mic'd up, talking to the announcers while this thing? That's entertaining. That would be entertaining to me.
Yeah.
You might get some side eye from Marcus Freeman because he'd probably get annoyed after a while, but that would be entertaining to me.
They did it a couple years ago. You remember? Because I remember when the weather, was it last year or the year before, when the weather was garbage, and they did have a mic on Freeman, where he was, talking to him before the game, I think, a little bit. I don't know how much he was actually talking during the game.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, from a TV standpoint, I think it makes perfect sense. And to TD4ND's point, maybe that's why Deion is throwing that out there, because it would get Colorado more time on TV.
Oh, yeah.
Look,
Deion's a lot of things, but he understands what gets on TV.
He knows marketing.
He knows marketing, man.
He knows how to market himself, market his kids.
That part I got no problem with, man. He's doing a great job for Colorado in that regard, all of that stuff. So I'm good with all of that.
Yeah. Father David said it was last year that Freeman was talking during a couple of drives.
Well, and they had Riley Leonard on too, because he
that's right.
there with Freeman.
That's right. So it would have been last year. Yeah, I mean, that's the only issue I would see is if you bring in another team and the juices get flowing, there's kind of an increased risk of injury that
Sure.
maybe isn't there if it's just your own team, going head to head during the spring. So it's a matter of how much you actually want that kind of external competition in a spring setting. So
100%.
That would be my only concern.
I get that. I totally get that. But I mean, you could get that with your own guys too, but I also see your point. But,
I would actually like it what NFL teams do. Like they do it during training camp. Right. I would actually like it more in a training camp setting as you're getting ready for the season.
Right.
To do
do it those first, because you basically get a month of training camp. Those first 2 weeks, maybe that second week you bring a team in.
Yeah, like the end of the second week, you do it for a couple days, some of your live drills and stuff like that you were going to do anyway. Yeah.
Oh, Father David wants to be the team chaplain for Hillsdale. I'm all for it, Father David. Come on down. Come on down, man.
Do it.
Come on down.
By the way, Father David, back to the whether or not Notre Dame should troll Ohio State and Southern Cal when they have the spring game. He said, "Don't troll, just put up 60 when they come to."
I get that.
Let the solution as well.
Let the games do the talking. I told you, I'm like the conductor of the petty train. Like I'm okay with that. I really am.
This we know. This we know.
So let's go.
So wide receiver / lacrosse player Jordan Faison did practice with the football team today. He was out there with the wide receivers. Here's Marcus Freeman on Jordan Faison.
We enhanced it. It's still a collaborative effort between the lacrosse program, Coach Corrigan, and the football program, and John Waddle's been helping out with, hey, what's the load and how much can his body take, and to me it's still lacrosse season. And that's what I told Jordan. If you're making the decision to play lacrosse, you have to be committed to your team. And how can we tailor and adjust our schedule to make sure that he's getting enough work in to continuously improve as a football player, but understanding that he has a commitment to the lacrosse team. And we're working together well. He's getting football, probably getting more football in this spring than he did last year. I think it was important that we gave Jordan a really significant time away from football or lacrosse after the season. It was important that we gave his body time to rest before he got integrated into lacrosse.
So Vince, I was a little surprised to see Jordan Faison out there on day one with the receivers. I know a couple guys who were sitting next to me were surprised as well. Do you think is it an issue at this point that he's doing both? What do you think?
Obviously Jordan Faison wants to be at both. I mean, it feels like, based on those comments, he's the driving force for this whole thing, right? At some point, there has to be an adult in the room that is like, you know what? That's probably not a great idea. Maybe
this guy was limited because of an injury last year too. I'm sure he's healed, or he wouldn't be out there doing either. But still,
totally,
it was a high ankle sprain that limited it.
Let's not push the button. You know what I'm saying? You go do lacrosse. You can hang out, take a mental reps here, maybe jump in every now and again, and maybe that's what he's going to do. But I wouldn't be having him at every spring practice and then every practice for lacrosse and every game. That's going to be way too much. And he will always say he can do it. You know what I mean? Because he's an athlete and he's a competitor and all that stuff. But eventually either Corrigan or Waggle or Freeman needs to step in and just be like, dude, you just do this for now.
And they've got the GPS numbers, so they have to be tracking this as well. Because obviously, remember, now they didn't let him play the first couple lacrosse games. He missed the first couple games. He has played in, I believe it is 4 of their 6 games now at this point. They've only played 6 games, but still, there's, they obviously limited him coming out of football and into lacrosse. It just, if you're going to play lacrosse would be my thought.
100%.
It doesn't seem like football practice in the spring should be that important if they're fully willing to let him go out there and be on the lacrosse team. But that would be I don't see any benefit to trying to do both right now.
Yeah, completely agree. Because he's been in the program long enough. He doesn't necessarily need the reps at football. That's where I'm at. You can get by and he'll be fine taking mental reps, being around the guys, the whole deal. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He wants to be out there. And I love the kid for that. You know what I mean? You want a kid to
Sure.
want to be out there. Absolutely. But you also have to be a head coach. I don't want to make this pointed at either one of the head coaches, but like as two programs working together on this, you've got to be like, dude, we got to tamp it down a little bit.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Fill in the blank. Notre Dame defensive lineman Devin Houston moving to the offensive line this spring is blank.
Curious. It's curious. That's the best thing I can come up with. When I first heard the news, I was like, they're not hurting on the offensive line. You know what I mean? There's not a depth issue on the offensive line. I think we've all talked about the fact we think the offensive line is one of the deepest positions on the team.
Yeah.
And most talented. So it's like, okay. Interesting. I don't know. I'm curious to see how this is going to go. Like, where's he going to be lining up? First team, second team, third team? Like, was he that far down the list on the defensive line that they're making this move? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of question marks for me around this.
Well, and I asked Freeman about it, just today, and the answer was pretty short and sweet. It's like not even worth trying to play the soundbite on it. Here's the quote, though. We want to give him an opportunity to maybe contribute to our football program more than he has in the past. We think he has some skill set that would translate to offensive line, end quote. That's
not
it.
A great comment.
No,
that's not a great comment.
So, I mean, it's basically, it wasn't going to happen for a 4-star recruit. It wasn't going to happen for him on the defensive line. We wanted to give him an opportunity, to show that he could do something. And that was it.
Wow.
So you're exactly right. That is not a great quote. That is not, like any kind of vote of confidence at all.
It's like he basically just said, he had no prayer playing on defense. We're going to give him a shot on offense. Oof, man.
Yeah. I agree. USMA. I mean, like it does appear, barring Devin Houston just wanting to stay for another year and get his degree, assuming he's on track for that the portal would appear to be next.
Yeah, agreed. Somebody can take him on the D line. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a big body. Somebody will take him on the D line.
Yep. So Alabama State beat St. Peter's in dramatic fashion in a matchup of a pair of 16 seeds in a play-in game to tip off March Madness Tuesday night. There are a lot of college basketball talking heads who think that the 16 seeds should not have to be in these play-in games and only bubble teams should play in the play-ins. Do you buy or sell that, Vince?
I mean,
by the way, I watched this because you questioned when we were talking about tournament expansion last week whether or not I even watch play-in games.
So you watched it out of spite is what you're telling me.
I watched this game because it was close and competitive. It was a good game. Like, did you see what happened at the end?
Nope.
It was a tie game. Looked like it was going to go to overtime. Alabama State heaves the ball up court, and there's like 5 guys in a pack, and the ball kind of tips off one of them. An Alabama State player grabs it in the paint, and lays it in with a second left to avoid overtime, and they end up winning by 2.
Wow.
Insane. But to the specific question, what do you think about, like, should 16 seeds have to be in these play-in games? Because I was thinking about this as I was watching it.
I'm going to go with I buy that because, look, the 16 seeds are guys that got automatic berths for winning their conference. They should be able to go to the full boat. They should go to the full Monty. They should not have to go to Dayton or wherever this was held. That's usually where the first 4 are held. They shouldn't have to do that. They punched their ticket to play in the NCAA tournament. They should be automatically in. I agree. It should be the bubble teams.
Yeah, they were automatic qualifiers because these 16 seeds only get in because they win their conference tournament. So they've already won something. And I do, like, I hadn't really thought about it like this because my idea for the last few years has always been all the double-digit seeds, they should just all have play-in games because you get more teams that way. But I kind of agree. Like, why should they be forced?
Right.
They've already won something. They
did what they were told to do. Like, they did what they were told to do. Right. They got the big ticket, and they got to show it to their fans, and then they get to go to Dayton. Like, that doesn't seem fair to me.
And it is the bubble teams in that, 10, 11, 12, that range where, like North Carolina, for example, last night, more of a question with them. They got a play-in game. They won. They moved on.
Yeah.
But, that's where more of the questions tend to come in. Now, the other side of it, though, is only 2 16 seeds have ever won a first-round game. And they've both happened, within the last 5 years? I guess it is 6 years, something like that. Six or 7 years, I guess, at this point, since UMBC finally, became the first 16 seed to win. So are we actually, the fact that 2 16 seeds had to play last night, you actually gave one of them a chance to win a game, because now they're going to move on and play Auburn, the number 1 overall seed. So, is it actually a good thing for them that they actually had an opportunity, to win a game, even if it is against a team of, somewhat, equal capability?
Yeah. It's going to be fun. I
tend to agree, though. The fact that why should they have to play their way in to this thing?
That seems like they're getting doubly punished, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But it does. I don't know. As I'm sitting here trying to fill out my bracket, because I haven't finished yet, nobody pays attention to the play-in games. It's not even part of the tournament. That's the way I feel about it. So why do we want more of those?
You don't even pick those on your bracket. You
right?
Just assume that team is going to end up
losing.
You can pick them to win if you want.
You can, but nobody ever pays any attention to them. So I don't know.
But I think Jesse brought this up. Michigan State got all the way, I think, to the Final Four a few years ago, as after being in a play-in. I believe it was Virginia Commonwealth when they made their run a few years back. They started as a play-in team. So, I don't know. Back to Devin Houston. Indy Sailor wants to know if we think that he'll make the 105 roster cut. I mean, just based on what we were just talking about, it doesn't seem like the odds are in his favor right now, does it?
I would say that would be a very simple one to make. That makes a lot of sense.
But DK says he'll laugh when Rudolph makes Houston the new left tackle.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
TD4ND, appreciate you being here, buddy, and we will see you on the other side.
Yeah.
Fill in the blank. It's blank that Chicago Cubs radio announcers Pat Hughes and Ron Comer called the Cubs versus Dodgers Japan series over the last 2 days from their booth at Wrigley Field rather than actually being in Japan.
I'm trying to think of a good blank here because it sucks. How about that? It sucks. Yes. Why did they not get to go to Japan with everybody else?
Marquee, the TV guys were there.
Right.
Marquee Sports Network guys.
Yes.
Those guys got to go.
And they're talking about their experiences and all the things that they got to do. You just leaving the old guys behind? I don't understand why those guys didn't get. Maybe they didn't want to go. Maybe they didn't want to go. It was very COVID-esque because I saw a picture of the two of them in a dark Wrigley Field, because obviously it's
booth. Yeah, there's nothing.
5 o'clock in the morning.
They didn't even light up Wrigley Field for them to give them any ambiance out there.
They're just in a dark, outside area. I mean, they're in their booth, but it's dark on the field, and they're calling this game with TV monitors. Welcome to COVID. That is exactly what these guys did during COVID because they weren't traveling with the team. But this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to go to Japan. I can't imagine that they were we'll skip it. We'll call it from Chicago. I don't know. It just seems weird to me.
I think so as well, especially that, the whole reason they're doing this, once in a lifetime and the experience of Japan and all that kind of stuff. I have not found a story about the why. I did try to do a little research and find out if there was anything on this as to exactly why. The, Fox Sports was also doing a national broadcast of this. Their announcers also stayed back. They didn't send the Fox announcers there. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Right.
Because I watched the Fox broadcast.
I don't know if the Dodgers TV guys got to go, but the Cubs TV guys got to go. And USMA 87 is just stinging me to the core right now. Radio guys are disposable, he says. Why pay for the travel?
Wow.
I mean, you're literally, I'm going to guess, because it is Major League Baseball, like even though it's overseas, I'm going to guess it's a team charter.
Agreed.
So like there's no extra cost for putting them on the airplane. The only
Correct.
actual cost would be the per diem for their meals and the cost of
hotel
their
room.
hotel rooms. When you're talking about 2 extra rooms, which is
Right.
not a lot in the grand scheme of things.
Look, usually those guys are down for spring training too. Down in Arizona for spring training.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised they were in Chicago.
I thought the same thing, because like I didn't see, when I saw that picture that you were talking about, I didn't know if they were actually at Wrigley, because like you said, you couldn't even tell because it's a glass window and
Right, it was dark.
Like,
I mean,
basically
it was just,
their booth.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if they were in Arizona doing that or in Chicago, but it turned out they were at Wrigley.
Yeah, because there's a whole week's worth now more of spring training games, and I guess they're not going to be down there calling them. I don't know.
I find it odd, unless they wanted to stay back, which I don't know why you would
I guess
want
it's
to.
possible. I mean, they're older guys. Maybe they didn't want to make that
Right.
trip.
And it is a
I don't
long
know.
flight.
It's a very long flight.
Hell of a long flight going over there.
No doubt.
So, but I don't know. I just it comes off to me,
It's
if they
cheap.
didn't want to stay back, is very cheap on the Cubs' part. Which
Yeah, because they took a lot of people on that trip.
unfortunately is just
so-
par for the course, the way the Cubs have done
Yeah.
business. the last
Well, and they
few
even
years.
took extra players, like players that were not allowed to be dressed for the game itself. They were there because they got to dress for like the exhibition games that they had against the Japanese teams. They weren't
Right.
even allowed to dress for the actual games. They got to go. I don't know. Seems. I don't know. It's ageist. That's what I'm calling. I'm starting the rumor now.
I agree.
The whisper campaign. It's ageist.
I hear you. Yeah. I found it odd. I found it pretty odd. It's like everyone else in baseball is supposed to be celebrating these games.
Yeah.
And Pat
Nope.
Hughes, one of the best announcers in all of baseball, is left behind in Chicago.
There were a lot of former Cubs out there too. Kerry Wood was out there.
D. Lee was out there.
D. Lee was out there. I think I saw Dexter Fowler was out there.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys that have
I
retired.
wonder if they were on the charter.
I mean, they got plenty of money. They
I
can
know,
probably
right?
get over there themselves. But still, there was just a lot of people over there. And to leave your radio guys and radio guys that are beloved too, by the way. It's not like these are two just random schmucks that
Yeah.
are just happen to do games. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they're beloved guys.
And look, that COVID season, I mean, you remember when I was getting back into the booth with, like, I wasn't in the booth, like at home games, we were at the top of the arena.
Yep.
In an empty arena. For the road games, I was doing it off TV. And baseball might be a little easier to do, compared to basketball or, hockey, for example. But at the same time, there's
nothing like being in the stadium. And they, on the Fox broadcast, which now makes it sound odd because they weren't there. They were just talking about the sounds and the fans and all these different things and how quiet they were. And then, when the Cubs players were in the field, and then how loud they got when the Japanese players were in the, so it was interesting to me, but I don't know. It just, there's no reason they shouldn't have been there.
I agree. Just like I said, it comes off as completely cheap on the Cubs' part if those guys didn't want to, stay back. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it for today. We zipped right through it this evening.
Well, we did, but it's still 6:30.
You're right. Spring practice is here. That's what
Yeah.
we're fired up about.
Yeah, let's roll.
I know.
Let's roll. I just got a picture of our dinner upstairs. So
Okay.
there you go.
Well, that's a little hint for you then, right?
Apparently, yeah, it says so
All right.
good is what the caption says. So
All right.
there it is.
Sounds good. Well, we will talk to you tomorrow. Hit that like button before you leave, and we'll talk to you later on IB Nation Sports Talk.